Good morning. Am I audible to everyone? Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to represent Ecolab in front of STEAM audience. I would take a few seconds to introduce ourselves. We, Ecolab, are the world leader in water and hygiene solutions. We are a 100-year-old company, and we have a vast network of over 48,000 engineers, over 1,000 R&D scientists who are constantly working to develop new technologies and solutions and implementing this at customer sites to ensure that their most critical business problems related to water and energy are solved. We have a we are positively impacting roughly 1.1 trillion liters of water uses every year. Almost 36% of all the food processed is impacted by our solutions. We impact 22% of all the power produced across the globe, and we can say that we are putting the world in the safe hands by ensuring hygiene of 60 billion hands every year. Coming to data centers, we all would agree that the modern world cannot operate without data centers, right? Data centers are essential to sustain the ecosystems we have built. It's essential to sustain our financial institutions, defense and security, healthcare, education, transport, communication, and whatnot, right? But at the same time, these data centers are constantly being demonized for their vast water and energy footprint because data centers consume a lot of energy. And when you consume a lot of energy, you need a lot of cooling requirement, where water requirement may be very high, right? There are, an interesting report says that a single post by Ronaldo, who is having 250 million followers at Instagram, it creates a wave of interactions, and the overall energy consumption can be as high as annual energy consumption of 10 UK households. Just one post from a famous person on Instagram, right? There are reports in the social media and in the news forums which are constantly pushing the message that if data centers can keep growing at the rate they are presently, there will be no water left for the community's drinking and daily use. Okay? And all this perception is putting large hyperscalers in very bad light. And they have now forced to choose air-cooled systems over water-cooled just to have a good face in the public domains. Yes. Just to put some facts forward and things into context, the situation may not be as bad as it is portrayed, right? So the total data center water consumption is less than 0.01% of global water consumption, right? It is true that data centers use a lot of water, that's a fact, but so does many other non-essential businesses too, right? Just to set the context, like a 100-acre golf course can consume more water than 100 megawatt data centers, and US alone have got 17,000 of such golf courses, right? And what if we are not using fresh water? What we have an alternative gray water source that can be used where we don't have to compete with the communities for their daily use water. Oh, it's a lot of animation, sorry for that, yes. So air-cooled data center has a higher PUE, higher power usage effectiveness, which means it can consume up to 30% higher energy than a water-cooled data center, right? But in the water scarce regions, still it may be intuitive to trade water for energy and choose air-cooled data centers. But more often than not, we miss the fact that each unit of energy produced also have got a water footprint at the source. So while data centers, they may not see a huge water consumption at their sites, but at the power generation locations, there is a water consumed to generate that additional power that is consumed due to air-cooled systems, right? And when we do this calculation, and in many cases what we have seen, that with air-cooled systems, actually the overall water consumption is more than a water-cooled data center, right? So I'm not advocating that at every case, every scenario, every geography, a water-cooled system is a better choice, but the point is to do a careful assessment of the situation, availability of the water, and the designs, right? And choose water whenever it makes sense, right? Look for alternative water sources. If you have a gray water source like treated sewage water, now even people are talking about using seawater directly, in those cases, a water-cooled system will almost always make a better case. Right? How we can support water stewards, how we can support end-to-end water users from receiving to the disposal and uses. We try to involve with the data center consultants and designers from the planning stage. This gives us leverage to evaluate and recommend designs that will have minimum water footprint. At the same time, it will ensure efficiency and reliability of their operations, right? So we have a R3 approach where we look at individual applications where water is being used, and we try to reduce the water uses at the application itself. For example, if they have a cooling tower, we can work upon operating that cooling tower at higher cycles. That will reduce the water consumption within that application, right? The second stage is that adds a bit more complexity is reusing the water. So a water which is used somewhere already, it can be directly used back into some other application with minimal treatment, right? At many places, what we have seen is that the RO reject water is not that bad, and it can be used back into the cooling towers partially, or some people are actually using it for hand wash and all those uses. So we can look at opportunities like that. And third and most complex one is, and it typically involves capital investment, is recycling water. So we take wastewater, treat it, make it usable, and put it back into utility uses, right? And when we combine all these things, we are actually handling a difficult quality water, I would say, in our systems. And that requires a very stringent monitoring and control so that we have a clear visibility how the water is performing, right? And this is where our 3S systems come into place. Having worked over 3 million customers worldwide and our hundreds years of experience tells us what are the actual industry problems, right? And what all industry needs in order to have the best optimized uses of water energy. And with a combination of connected chemistry, smart technology, and actionable insights, we deliver an end-to-end solution so that their water is managed safely and sustainably, right? I'm going a bit more detail here. So any water treatment, there are some chemistries are used. Chemistry's job is to go into the water and fight with the conditions which can cause water-related problems like corrosion, microbiology, fouling, deposition, all those things. The chemistries we use are not just doing its job, not just fighting with the conditions, it is also sending back important information back to our smart technology, our equipments, about the system stresses where we can predict the problems before they actually occur, right? So this chemistry works seamlessly with these smart systems, and these systems, they monitor critical water parameters along with the chemistry control, chemistry residuals and all. And all this data is being fed to our nerve center called EGIC. And using that data, we generate actionable insight to proactively act on the problems, which may lead to loss of productivity or which may pose safety risks. Right? So combining all these, we can ensure your systems are reliable, they are operating efficiently, and you are meeting your sustainability goals. We have over 45,000 connected systems worldwide. All these systems are monitoring critical water parameters every 6 seconds and responding to upsets. At the same time, we have a team of 200 engineers watching these systems remotely. They are looking at all the water parameters, all the alarms, and they are responding to the upsets in cases where a human intervention is required by our site engineers or by the client team. We collect 90 billion data points every year, which is 12 times the population of Earth. And this huge amount of data gives us immense capability to understand, look at trends, understand trends, and predict problems before they actually occur in the systems. Okay? And so it's not about looking at upsets in the water parameters and responding to those. We are actually looking at trends before the upsets occur and correct it immediately. Now with the integration of AI, what we are doing is we are generating action items automatically without human intervention, looking at water trends, chemistry consumption trends, and these action items are assigned to relevant persons with a tentative implementation date. And this all is visible on a single dashboard for multi-locational customers, so they know how many actions are pending. This ensures that systems are reliable and are operating within the within the parameters which are pre-decided for the system operation, right? Even if someone don't want to look at the dashboard daily, our soon-to-be launched virtual assistant is something where you can simply go and ask a question about system performance, right? On a particular day, if you feel that I don't have any problems today, you can simply ask a question to our virtual assistant that what are the major problems in my water systems today? And it will give you a list of 3, 4, 5 problems, which it may occur. On the parameter side, everything may look fine, everything is under control. But looking at the trend, this virtual assistant can tell you that these 4 problems may occur in the near future if we don't take care of these 4 things right now. Right, so we are going into that era slowly. Now, when we look at water, which is used in the industries and institutions for domestic and utility purposes, it's not just efficiency and reliability and performance of the water. There is also a major concern about human health. Anyone who is consuming that water or working with those water systems, or even the communities can also be at risk. Right? Legionella is a very granular example of that. So the water we receive in the facilities is not sterilized, it is only disinfected, right? So the bacterial count is under check, it's very low, but bacteria is still there in that water. Now, when this water is being distributed and used, there may be conditions that can support bacterial growth, right? And pathogen may also survive in that water. We have very strict regulations around Legionella management in Dubai and in many other countries. So it's a compliance issue. At the same time, it is directly related to human health. The impact of Legionella outbreak is on the business and on the community, right? So the cases are increasing year on year. In fact, in last 10 years, the cases have grown by 200% because of there is more reporting available and there is more awareness, right? It may be fatal in 5 to 10% of the cases. On the business side, if you are identified as a source of Legionella outbreak, there may be fines and penalties, there may be legal fees, you may have to pay higher fee for insurance and all. You may have to shut down your systems for cleaning and empty the building and clean it, disinfect it, and then put it back into the operations, right? And most importantly, it can have a very negative impact on your brand image in the market, because if you go to a search engine, type Legionella outbreaks, the properties where these outbreaks have happened in the past are reported by name. Right? So it makes a perfect business sense to take care of microbiology and human health in our systems. 1, because it impacts our business directly, and 2, because it's the right thing to do. It's directly related to human health and life. The good news is we have investigated many historical outbreaks, and what we have seen is over 90% of these cases could have been avoided by having a good Legionella management plan at site. What do I mean by Legionella management plan is we start with a risk assessment of the site, right? So we go around the system, how the water is being received, stored, treated, distributed, used, and disposed of. We identify risk at all touch points, and then we develop a plan to manage the risk. Some places it can be eliminated, some places it will be reduced, or we reduce the exposure to manage the risk. This plan is developed in accordance with global guidelines. If some countries have local guidelines, and some corporates have their own internal guidelines. So we consider all these guidelines and we choose the most stringent one so that we are always compliant to the guidelines, right? The plan will also have remedial action items in case if there are any outliers, and everything, a procedure to document everything, right? Because having an up and running plan will put you at the best defensible position if you are identified as a source of Legionella outbreak, because end of the day, it's microbiology. Even after doing everything right, microbiology may grow and surprise us. So if we have an up and running, well-documented plan, it helps us, it improves our defense in case of legal lawsuits. Imagine a large corporation with multiple sites and multiple assets. Even if they have a good Legionella management plan, it's only as strong as the weakest site or weakest asset. So we develop a plan, it is being implemented. Suppose at one particular asset, we are missing some opportunity, some kind of monitoring, some kind of cleaning, right? So the entire chain of safety is broken. And this is where we can raise the level of risk assessment, water safety management by digital interventions. our water safety intelligence gives a bird-eye view of corporate managers at the state of water safety at all their sites and all their assets, so that they can hold the site managers accountable for implementation of their plan, right? Not just that, it is also giving a risk prediction for cooling waters. The prediction is available only for cooling towers, so it is giving a risk prediction for cooling towers. It is giving an overall view of compliance to the plan, how many Legionella positives have been there in the past. So anyone sitting in the corporate looking at their dashboard can zoom into it and see what sites are not performing as expected. They can further zoom into it and what assets are not performing as expected, and then they can reach out to the site managers or asset managers and ensure that they are compliant to the plan, right? And in practice, what we have seen when we combine a good water safety plan along with digital services, it helped reduce response time by 40%, which in turn reduced Legionella positives by 10%, and the cost that goes into remediation and corrective actions is also reduced by 15%, right? So I'll close this by converging everything into what we are committed at Ecolab is we are committed to protecting what's vital for our life, for our planet, and for our businesses. With this, I'll stop here. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer if you have any question around water safety, or I mean anything related to water, I'm happy to answer.